We begin in Gaza, where Israeli forces have killed at least 200 people and injured hundreds more in several locations in the past 24 hours. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to continue fighting Hamas despite growing international pressure to end the war. In the border city of Rafah, relatives are mourning the deaths of at least 27 Palestinians killed in Israeli military strikes on two houses. Rescuers have spent hours trying to find as many as 4 people trapped under the rubble. Gaza's health ministry says 18,600 Palestinians have been killed since October the 7th. Hani Mahmoud is live for us in Rafah, in southern Gaza. So, Hani, 200 people killed in 24 hours. That's a high toll. How are civilians dealing with that kind of aftermath?
Yes, Sammy, it is a high number, and this is what we have been seeing over the past weeks of covering this ongoing genocidal war. The number can increase and get to more than it's in some cases it doubled the number when things are very, very intense. But 200 people in 24 hours is very high when we look at the situations on the ground, given the difficulty of everything going on right now. There are renewed airstrikes and artillery shelling the eastern side of Gaza, namely densely populated neighborhoods at the eastern side of Gaza City, Jazeera neighborhood namely, and then Daraj neighborhood. This is another densely populated neighborhood at the southern eastern side of Gaza. Also, Jabalia refugee camp within the past 45 minutes came under heavy artillery shelling. But maybe the heartbreaking attack happened in Deir al-Balah, where hundreds of people within the past couple hours came under heavy tank shells and artillery shelling, forcing them to leave their residential homes. We talk about area that is in the middle of Deir al-Balah city, supposedly safe area for people who evacuated since the beginning of the war. It's just the level of terror and trauma is increasingly by the hour as there is a surge in those attacks on residents of the Gaza across the Gaza Strip. But maybe the worst of all of this happened overnight at early hours of last night, particularly where 2 residential homes were targeted, destroyed by multiple massive airstrikes. Talking about a 3-story building each, just came down completely. 27 people killed right away, and there are growing fear that there are people under the rubble. There are talks about 4 more people, mainly children and a woman. It's important to point out the vast majority of the residents of those buildings are displaced Palestinians came from across the Gaza Strip, including the person who owned the house and hosted these evacuees in his home.
And Hani, as the weather gets colder now, how much of a challenge is fuel for heating becoming, as well as food, of course?
With no fuel being allowed into the Gaza Strip, not only hospitals and bakeries completely are out of service. And now we're looking at an important element of keeping alive and surviving the cold weather. Now, winter in the Palestinian territories here, it's the coastal area, can be wet, cold, and sometimes possible floods occur when there's heavy rain. But we're talking about situations where people lack those very, very basic elements of survival. We've been talking about this for the past 2 weeks, the survival items, and one of them that represents a lifeline for Palestinians across the Gaza Strip. There are talks about increasing the amount of fuel from 120 to 180,000 liters per day, but so far the amount is still little compared to the dire need. Any amount that enter the Gaza Strip now go directly to hospitals, go to to bakeries, these two areas where people need them, where facilities need them the most. As we know, there are 9 hospitals out of the 40 hospitals functioning in the southern part. And without this fuel, we will see them coming out of service or severely cutting down on the medical services provided to people. But as of now, people are using as much as they can, putting layers of blankets just to keep themselves warm, but still they sleep cold.
Thanks so much, Hani Mahmoud there.